Hey everybody, I'm going to work on a website today, and let me show you. Figure that out. Okay, so the website is a business-to-business website, and they had a few small problems with it. So we're going to clean those up. So we're going to put a little bit of a margin here in the top, just to give it a little bit of spacing. And then one of the things we're doing is on the images, we're rounding the corners. And after we round the corners, we're going to add a shadow to the outside of the box to kind of make it look like the image is floating or lifted a little bit. And then breaking up these sections a little bit smaller so it kind of looks like that section is floating. The reason we're focused on that is when you look at it from a phone point of view, as you're scrolling down the phone, you kind of want it to come off the page a little bit. And you can see here that I don't like the way that the letters are right here. So we've got to go through and clean up little small things like this to make it look a little prettier. Simple stuff to do, nothing complex about it. It's just tedious work. But the goal of this entire website is to get listed and to get ranked on Google, SEO for their Google My Business. And so everything that we do is with this one specific goal in mind, is to get ranked on Google My Business, right? That way that they're the first options that pop up in their local area. In this case, it'd be Chattanooga, Tennessee, that they're going to pop up first to help business to business build their credit, build their financing, invest in key member life insurance policies. Then they do lead generation. And after the lead generation, they run a smart AI website that does automatic appointment booking with a AI bot to work with them. And so I can see now that every one of these are going to need to come off of the page a little bit. And this is just going to be a lot of boring work for me. This kind of stuff is super boring. There's not a lot of, you don't get to use a lot of your brain power to do this one. It's super boring. But it will make it easier for the viewers to read each of these sections. Which will feel nice. So again, little images like this. What just happened? Reverse. I see what it was. And again, all we're doing is rounding all the corners and adding a box shadow to all of these sections. So hopefully it'll end up looking pretty good. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do for them is actually create a border, and I'm going to round the edges of the border to kind of give it the feeling of its own section. Each section at a time kind of gets its own and then as we transition to a new section, if we build a little bit of a shadow, not much, just a little bit of a shadow, and we give it a little bit of a border, and we round the border, you'll see how it's transitioning from one section to another section. And as long as the border is like a little bit more transparent, not very strong, then it shouldn't show up very big, and then the shadow would help it. So these are just tiny little adjustments, and you can see how, like, if it's on a desktop mode, how there's really no need to put spacing here. But if you look at the same thing on your mobile, then maybe you don't want it that close to the edge, right? And then the faster way to do it is each section, you're just going to build a little bit of padding for the entire section, right? So every bit of this section is going to be 10 pixels off of the edge. And that's the faster, cleaner way to do it. So this way we don't have to go in here and manually adjust each of these at a time. We just know that the entire section is going to be 10 pixels. So when I'm looking at it like this, it doesn't make a lot of sense that each of these are going to be like their own box. But let's see what it would look like. So let's just assume that we want to build a container for each of these boxes. And we're gonna stay with 20 pixels on this one. And I'm gonna do a soft color. And then I'm gonna build a blur shadow. Okay, so this is the difference between looking at an image with a shadow or not a shadow. And for me, actually, now that I look at it, I like it. So I'm going to do it. However, I want to space this apart so that they're not on top of each other. Full border, and I want the border color to be really soft. Okay, so let's look at the spacing here. And it has an inside spacing, but I want to give it a margin spacing of at least about 10 pixels. And then I want to do the exact same thing for this one, at least 10 pixels. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing for this final column. Give it at least 10 pixels here. Give it a shadow, just a blur. And my default is always about 20 pixels on this blur. And my default border is always 20 pixels on here. So give that a color. And just like that, we kind of have, it's like these little boxes are like contained just on their own now. Oh, it doesn't look like that one got rounded. Nope, we missed that one. So that one's rounded now. And if we don't like that spacing, then we can always increase it a little bit better. Can do 20 and 20. And then do the exact same thing up here. 20 and 20. So the difference is going to be if this is a margin, it's going outside of the container. And if it's a padding, then it's going to be on the inside of the container. All right, so let's just keep the spacing about the same. We'll do 20. Build these box shadows. And let's build a border. I'm doing full border. I'm not changing the 2 pixel radius. The only thing I'm doing is using a really, really soft color. That's all. And because we're in the mobile mode, we're not really affecting how this looks on a desktop. We're specifically working on the mobile side of it to make sure that we understand how it looks. Only on the mobile device. So again, a lot of this is going to be repetitive. Pixels. We're going to build a shadow, blur out a 20. Going to create a border. That border is going to be this color. The radius is going to be 20. And then I'm going to save my work. And then I'm going to go back and look. All right, so it looks like somehow that got duplicated. We don't need two of them. We just need one. All right, so now these actually have like a little bit of spacing and details to them, and you can see the difference of just adding the shadow, adding the round edges, and adding just a little bit of an outline, like a very soft colored outline. You can see it really makes it pop. And now if I go back here, there's only supposed to be one group of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, now it's deleted. Okay, cool. And then they threw in some testimonials. This is something that we added for them today, which if you haven't done this yet, I think you really should do it. It's over here as a new element, and you can come down in your elements, and the name of this one right here is called review. Okay, so there's two different ones, and it took me a minute to understand it. So what reviews do is this is connected to your reputation management. Everything that you've got built on reputation is right here. So all of the different reviews that you've collected and you keep sending out reminders to take another review is going to be right here on review. Testimonials is a brand new section. So let me show it to you what the difference is. Testimonials is going to look a little bit different. So I'm going to just create a new column, and then I'm going to delete it. But I wanted to create this column and show you that right here, if you take testimonials and you pull it in, that what it does is it automatically does the lift, it does the shadow, it puts a little picture in here, it puts a business logo, it explains their title, their name, and it gives their actual testimonial. However, the reason this is kind of cool is you can actually come in here and you can put the content in here. So you can say something like, Travis is the coolest guy ever to build GHL websites, right? And it doesn't matter what you put here. It's going to immediately show up, and then you can change the star ratings in real time. You can add the name, right, of who left the comment. You can update the date that they left the comment. And then if you wanted to, you can even do a profile picture. Now, if they're like super powerful and you really want to let them influence your outcome, you can actually go and put their business and their profile in here, and it would go straight to their actual business. It would go straight to their profile. So there's a really cool way to do this. Like if you've got good trust and the people loved you and you want to put their information here, then it would go into this account. And so let me give you an example what I'm talking about. So let's say that this person worked for a different company and we wanted this company's logo, and we had access to the company's logo. So just like that, the company logo gets updated, but now you can see that just by hovering over the logo, it's going to take me to the business URL. Okay, so I'm gonna save that and I'm going to test it. Okay, so I can see one thing that I don't like about the website right now. That's way too busy. There's way too much happening as you're scrolling down. So this is the first section that I was telling you about. If you build a review section and it goes in here and it goes through like where you're picking up different reviews. But this is the new section that we just added that's called testimonials, right? So this is the testimonials. And if I click that link, it's going to go to their business page. So this is a really, really cool way to like grow really quick, and you're putting an external link to somewhere else that Facebook loves it, right? Meta loves this, Google loves it, SEOs love this because you're using a credible source inside of your website, and it's like this is credible now. They're sharing information about other things. So what we try to do is build out this section and include as many links as we can to go to as many authoritative websites as you can. And then you can choose all of these different details. If you want to show the picture or you don't want to show the picture. If you want to show the name or not show the name. If you want to show the caption or not show the caption. If you want to show the logo or don't show the logo. You can add a date in here and you can see like when they did the dates. Or you can show the star or not show the star, right? So you've got total control over these settings. And after you're done with this, if you've got more, you can simply just come here and you can add a brand new section. And you can see that it moved it from a row of 3, and now we've got an arrow so that we can look for the 4th person or the 5th person. The next thing that you can adjust is how many columns that you're going to show at one time. You can show 3 or you can show 4 at one time. You can show 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 3 or 4. So obviously, if you've got a lot of testimonials, you want to show as many as you can up front. and it'll include all these different links up front. And then lastly, you can focus on the card style. And you can kind of start cleaning it up, making it a little bit pretty, right? So you see how instantly it's just moving this around. So this is a really, really cool feature here in the testimonials. That it's actually a little bit more powerful than the old way of doing it, of just adding your own video, adding your own text, adding your own stars. Or it's even better than the pre-built testimonial section here. So this is how it used to look, where you used to be able to pull in like a pre-built section, and it gives you the different videos and the star rating. And that's what we did right here. So we just literally grabbed this copy and put it in here. And now I think the new element, testimonial element, is actually better, right? So I think this element is even better now, unless you're gonna do videos. So if you're gonna do videos, then you gotta figure that out. But if you're not gonna do a video, then I would use this one. Okay. All right, so moving right along. We're just going to continue that each section is going to get a border. It's going to get a color. It's going to get 20 pixels. And it's going to get a shadow. Oh, I think we said a small shadow. Now, the next thing that I'm fixing for them is we've put some code in here that it does this really beautiful glow. And the way that they had it originally was a clear background, like it was just transparent and it looked like this. So it's cool that it's scrolling like that, but it looks a little bit cleaner to do it this way. So the only thing that we got to do to fix this section is come over here and add some borders. Once again, we're going to do soft colors. We're going to make it a round edge. Let's see what this one was. 20. Yep. And this one's going to be 20. And then we got to add the box shadow to really like make it look like it's floating or popping. And we're going to add a box shadow. We're going to add a border. And we're going to give it 20-point radius. Okay, so that's kind of cool. And then the next thing that I noticed here is the text. It needs a little bit of space so that it's not all the way on the corners. And now you tell me, which looks better, the bottom row it's like this, or the top row? And I'll let you be the judge which one you think looks better. um, so I definitely like it a lot better when you build out a clear box and you give it good details, good structure. So I'm definitely going to keep building out a box for them. Make the radius 20. Make this box like this. And that one looks good. And the final one here. So build the shadow, build the border, make the border like a really, really soft color. And then change the edge to 20. And voila. Brand new section, looks totally different than how it started. Okay, and then the next thing to do is for the actual section itself, we need to do the same thing. You need to create a border, make the border soft, give the border a radius, and give it a little bit of a shadow. Now, the only thing is this shadow is smaller than the other shadow. And when you spread it apart, like you give it a outside margin of about 10, what you're doing is you're creating this illusion that each section is its own little section. And that's what's important, is that each little section kind of looks and feels like its own section. That way, if it, what you'll do is you'll get people to kind of stop scrolling, speed scrolling, because it doesn't look like one big mess. It looks like little tiny sections at a time. Okay, so just like that, we rounded that border, which kind of gives us a little bit of separation, and we gave it 10 pixels difference. And so now if I save this and I preview that, what we're trying to do is make this section look like its own thing right here. So maybe I'm actually going to add like 10 more pixels to give it just a little bit of separation from the header. And then you see this box right here. And then it starts with a second box. So you can see how it's round, but I noticed one thing that I don't like. I don't like that it's going all the way to the edge of the page. So I do like, yeah, and I definitely want to fix how many animations there are. There's maybe too many animations. Okay. Okay, so this is when there's no section headers and there's no box. So it kind of looks like it's all one thing. And you can see how it goes straight to another section, but there's no break. So you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But now, just by putting this little border here and this little border here, I have a clear difference going from that section to the other section. And here to here, I can see there's a little bit of a difference going from that section to that section. In here, I can see there's a little bit of a separation. So instead of adding, like the old ways of doing it was you put like a little bit of a line break here. And I think it looks a lot cleaner to just build a little bit of a pixel and go ahead and create the borders. So that's why we're doing it. However, I actually want it to come off of the page as well. I really want to emphasize that this is its own section. And so I'm going to give it a margin of 10 all the way around. So let's go to the top and let's build these margins all the way around. So I'm going to put a margin here. I'm going to put it on the side. And I'm going to put it on the bottom to separate it from the other one. Now you can see here how we were using just an image of a line, and the goal is your eyes are supposed to follow from frame to frame. And I'm not building a section box for this because I don't want this to look like it's a section. I want this to look like it's a thread that's piecing the two together. Okay. So the next little secret that I'm using is this is a negative margin, which means that this box is technically invading, coming across 50 pixels into the next one. And if I had the same thing on the bottom here, you can see how this is 10 pixels. If I go negative, then it actually goes into this box just a little bit. And it looks like it's connecting these two together. So this is a very specific design, and all you do is you just adjust a negative margin to come inside the next one. Pretty clear, pretty clean. And now let's make sure that we've got our margins. And we do. Okay, so we're going to run into that problem again because now we're going on to another section. Okay, so now this is a really cool thing. You can see how this is the section, what we do, and then there's a transition. But you can see that this is all in this same exact section, and I don't like that. I actually want to pull this entire area into its own section so I can create its own bubbles. So this is 1, 2, 3 in a row before we get there. And then that moves directly into how our system works. So now I'm beginning to understand. Okay, so what I really need to do more than anything is create a brand new section, a full width section, and build it in here, but there's nowhere to build it. Okay, because this was built wrong to begin with. So the next way to do that would be add an element, full width. Okay. Then I want to try to find this entire row and this entire row and pull all of it in. Okay. So if I pull this down and I grab this one and I pull it down, and then I grab this final one here and I pull it down, okay, so now this has its own section, how the system works. And get rid of this and get rid of this. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is scroll up and build each of these into their own section at a time. So once again, in order to stay consistent, we're going to change the radius on the border. We're going to build a shadow. Looks like 10 is a pretty good shadow right now. I'm happy with it. And then we're going to change the margins to give everything a little bit of space. Okay, so now we've got that section that is giving everything its own little bit of space. And then, so if you remember how we do this is with a negative margin. Okay, so as soon as I go there, now this line is inside of my margin, which is good. And this one looks like it's redundant. And the next one that I want has to go inside the margin. Okay, and it's in there, just like that. So we've at least got this one section cleaned up. However, you can see that this goes on and on and on, like 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. And we don't want that. And then I noticed that we lost our line right here. So I'm going to have to go back in and add it. That was that extra one that I deleted. So I think it just got confused and deleted that line. So that looks good. And this one's coming inside. We look good there. So let's refresh. And now let's look at the difference when we're pulling in 10 pixels at a time. Okay, so we got the separation that we were looking for. That's nice. And we got a little bit of separation here. but you can see the difference. All right. So when we go from this having clear borders, and then we just scroll down and there's no borders at all. This just kind of goes on and on and on with no borders. And then we go to a borders, real clean, real defined borders. Okay, so real clean, real defined borders. It makes that transition for you with your eyes. Real clean borders. Okay. And then now I'm realizing that I want the borders to be a little bit bigger than 10 points. Okay. So I think I want to go 20 points on these borders. And I think I also want to go 20 points on the inside as well to kind of give it a lot better spacing and framing overall. So let's start here at the top and let's give ourselves 20. And I'm going to leave the bottom. Actually, now that we deleted the line, we don't need that anymore. Okay, so this is 20. This one is 20. And now the next thing that we got to do is take this really, really long section and turn it into its own small sections, a little bit at a time. And the way that we do that is a full width element. And all you're going to do is drag these elements down at the same time. All right, so you see this entire box here, you can pull the entire box and put the box inside of the new piece that you just built. Okay, so we missed. So I gotta, there we go. Perfect. And now we've got to add the border, update the color, update the pixels, create a box shadow, keeping it at about 10. We're going to update the margins to be 20 pixels all around. To give it that spacing. Okay, so now we're fixing it one layer at a time. And after you're working, so this does have autosave now, and you can keep working on your autosave. So the next element, we're going to pull it in the middle. Okay, So this is its own section. Now, one thing that actually makes it a little bit easier is if you start by building out the section, and you build the shadow into it. Sometimes your eyes can get lost trying to figure out where something's at. And if you build it out first, it makes it a little bit easier to know where you're dragging some of the elements into the different sections, right? So overall, there's only really 3 elements here. Okay, an orange element is the smallest, and those are within these columns, and those are within a blue container. And then the blue container is within a green section. So your eyes will start getting used to, like, orange is like the smallest element, and then right above it is a purple, and then right above that is a blue, and right above that is a green. So if you don't want to rebuild an entire section, you can grab the entire section and pull it. And just like that, I did not have to rebuild every single thing from scratch. Okay. And now I can pull this one here and pull this one element down to put there. Okay. And then the only thing I have to adjust is the negative margins to bring it inside the next section. Okay. And then how I put 20 pixels on the bottom here. If I go to 0, you can see how it lets me go inside. And if I put a 0 here, it'll let me go inside. So that section's built, that section's built. And okay, so the next thing that I need to do is build a section in the middle. And I'm going to pull down this entire element. Oh, actually, there is no element here. So only thing I actually need to bring is bring this down. Okay. So that's finished. That's finished. And this is going to be a negative padding so that it goes inside the other element. And this one's going to be negative at the bottom so that it'll go inside of here. And then I just need to zero this one out, or maybe go negative a little bit so that it'll go inside. And then do this same thing here. How it's got 20. If I go to 0 or maybe even a little negative, then it's going to go inside of that section. Okay, so just like that, we've cleaned up these sections. So it's 20, everything is 20, unless we're using a line break. And then we want this to be 20 all around. We want these margins to be 20. Let's go negative a little bit. Come inside. And you can see how this one's coming inside. We're 2020. And I'm not going to do 20 because I need this to come inside. But I really want to make sure that the corners are 20. That's 20. Okay, so now we just got to do the bottom here. Keep that separated. And go to 20. Change this margin. Change this margin. And we're also going to change that one. Okay. Now, if you've got a section and it looks a little bit tight, the way that you fix that is give it some good margins. Give it some good padding on the inside. And what it does is it opens up that section a little bit larger just by giving it the padding. So you're not spacing it further apart from the other one, but you're giving it, and a good rule of thumb is about 60. Yeah. And then we're going to keep with our 20, our 20, our 20, and our 20. Let me double check that we did that one. Yeah. Twenty. So now, once again, I want to point out that look at the difference between just a raw section and then if we give it a box shadow, how that makes it like hover a little bit. And if we give it a border, and then we round that border, that it really turns into a beautiful, clean section. And if it looks like it's a little small on the inside, give it about 60. Padding on the inside. And that gives you like a good 3/5 spacing in there. And once again, okay. So this is just the section is spaced correctly. So no problem there. There's no border. There's no shadow. It's just spaced apart. But when I add this shadow, now it looks like the whole thing is on a frame. And then when I add a border, it pops, it makes it pop. But if you add a border and then you add round edges, now it looks like a beautiful Apple style section. And it's really, really easy, really clean um, to break down these different sections like that. So I think people need to spend the time doing this for their websites. If you really want like a professional look, I think this is really like what you have to do now. And then you see how this is really close to the top? The way that you fix that is you give it a little bit better padding. So that it's a little bit cleaner. And then this one doesn't have a box shadow. So inside, I give it 20. And then because this is an image, the only thing you can choose is if it's a circle or it has rounded corners. And this one's going to have rounded corners. So, rounded corners. And then I don't want it to have any spacing for padding because this is an image. And the only thing that you're doing is like hurting the image when you add spacing like that. So we're good there. And we've got a new section. So this section is going to be 20 and 20, 20, and 20. So that's the margin. Now it looks like it's got really, really big spacing padding on the inside. And the reason is because if you don't open up the padding, then it'll crop your image. And so you really want to give it as much image padding as you can if you want to showcase the entire image. All right, so we've got a border color. We're going to make the radius 20. Then we're going to build a shadow for it like that. All right. And then this is the footer. So you can actually leave it flat to really show that it's different from the inside of the website. And the same thing goes for the top. You don't have to round the top because it's it's going to stay the header. Okay, so what we actually did was create separation, and turn every section into a smaller, more consumable way of looking at it. Okay, so this is before we fixed the spacing here. And you can see how it goes all the way to the corners. And when I refresh, now it's more on the inside. So every little box looks like it's designed to talk about this one area. And so this one area focuses on this. And next I got to clean up these animations. All right, so you can see here this has its own CSS code that it highlights, and it gives a glow when you click on it. This one has a code to enlarge the image. And then, yeah, so we're going to have to clean up these animations. I don't like the animations. That's fine if you want to animate the heading. All right, so right here, I can see that this section is too small, too condensed. And I'm going to go in there, find that one section. And this is where you increase the padding on the inside to give it a little more breathing room for the whole section. Okay, so I'm going to save it. And this is how it used to look, kind of small. And let's see, after we give it a little more breathing room. Yeah. Yeah, that's much better. You see how like it just it allows you enough space off of the top to look like it's supposed to. That's good. Okay, so we've got good spacing here. Good spacing. Now we've got these fixed right here. So they glow. And the next thing that we got to do is add the read more sections to put a hyperlink in there so that if anybody's interested in this, it'll actually take them to another step. It'll take them to another page. And you can see here that they've got their go high level in here, but it's not connected right now. So what we've got to do is connect this page to this section. And ads, we would need to connect to ads. Business credit here, we would need to connect to business credit. So we just got to go through and make those connections, and that section will be finished. And yeah, so adding that spacing really helped. And pulling this off makes it look better. So obviously one of the things that we could be doing is examining, is this the correct image that needs to be on that section? Like, does the image match what the section is talking about? If I only looked at the image, would I understand what it meant? And I think what you're trying to do is create images that match really, really good with what you're talking about. So if I don't know what a bronze package is, like what image could I make that really explains what a bronze package would be, or a silver package, or a gold package? If I wanted to get an EIN number started and get more business credit, like what's the right image to get business credit? If I'm building an ad and I want to get to an advertisement, like what's the correct image here to put for an ad? If I'm using a CRM, like what's the right image to use for a CRM? And you just go through and you ask all of these questions over and over. And even if you've got an image, like you can see they spent time building this image. So to some degree, it looks like there's a funnel of people of money that turns into an upward progress with enjoying the beach and appointments and more money. Maybe somebody can figure this out just by looking at that image, or maybe we go to Gemini or ChatGPT and we just create a better image for every section. How our system works, I think figuring this out is going to be important, because lead generation, booked appointments, full calendars with a 3x to 10x your sales. I think spending a lot of time just dialing in what the perfect image is going to be here, to be the hook, right? Because if the image is built good enough, it's going to hook the person to do something. Okay. And I can see here that it's missing a call to action, right? So if I'm trying to hook somebody to think about how the system's working and they like one of these things, again, this whole image can be linked to the correct page. And the call to action would basically be if they needed a free demo, or they needed to talk to a salesperson, or if they just wanted to try it for free for 30 days, like get your free 30-day trial, sign up right here. So having a call to action would help. Why Chattanooga? And it's somebody standing on boxes while other people climb ladders, other people are on a bullhorn. So this image definitely doesn't make sense to me. Um, and it doesn't immediately tell me why I should choose um, this company. Same thing here. Um, Not really sure what the difference would be between these different packages. And even though I've looked at the website forever, I can see like this is almost like not easy to consume. It's not easy to read this. Um, the information is good, what they're saying is good, but it's just so hard to decide if I'm scrolling what I want to stop scrolling and read. So they got to figure that out. And then some of this same issue right here, right? So maybe I'm going to read the headline, build automated sales funnels. But the headlines are so close together that it just makes me want to scroll past every headline instead of read one of them. And then there's a lot in here. Like, obviously, the company's able to do a lot for people. Like, that's not the issue. And they've got good things to say whenever they're talking about it. But it's really focusing on like calling out exactly what you're going to do for somebody and making it super, super clear. This is exactly what I'm going to do for you. I want to build this into its own section. I don't like it being that close. So how do we build a section? Step one, create a new section. And find the blue box and pull the blue box in there. And then now we've got to build the right amount of spacing to let this stand on its own. Yeah, I like that better. It was too crowded. There was too much going on. And I think that's my problem with something like this. I almost feel like each of these sections here should be on their own. They should be independent. Like, I think this one should be on its own. The second one should be on its own, and the third one should be on its own. Yeah, so I think the whole thing needs to be redesigned. In fact, they've got a pre-built section. Let me see if I can find it. What's good about the pre-built section is it gives you the right spacing. You see right here, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, you see how this gives you its own headline, and then it gives you these 3 columns with a call to action? I actually think that's the better way to handle this. What we do for agents. So I'm going to keep everything inside. I'm not going to build a new green section. I'm only going to build actually. So let's go back to that list and let's see, can I pull it in here and keep it inside? Or is it its own? Yeah. Yeah. It's its own thing. Okay, so what I would have to do is grab each of these sections and pull them down. So this one would go there. This one would go where the headline goes. All right, so that's the workaround. We grab this, and that becomes the new paragraph. This becomes the new headline. This is the new paragraph. Delete the old one. This is the headline. Okay. And then we can pull this as the button and get rid of that button. Then we just have to decide what does it look like to add it here. So maybe it's supposed to look like that. And then we can get rid of this altogether. And we can get rid of this altogether. And we can even get rid of this altogether. So then we're going to repeat, make it its own section, give it its 20-point radius, add a box shadow, and this one's going to be in the middle. Give it good spacing margins at the top. Make it look centered, 20 points from here. Want to give it a little bit of space on the inside. These are paddings, so I want to give it a little bit of padding. And then I want that line to be here, so I'm not going to affect that. In fact, I can give it a little bit of negative and let the line go up. So if it looks like the image is not going inside, it's because you've got some padding, or you've got some margins at this level. And so sometimes what you got to do is check all these levels and click on this icon and remove any padding that you've got to make sure that it can go inside the other section. Okay, so now it looks like it's tying that section together. Cool. Okay, so the next thing to make this look better, you guessed it, we're just going to build a 20-point shadow. We're going to change the radius to 20. And we're going to give it a border, just a little bit of color. Okay, so the border is just a little bit of color. You know what? Because this has got like a purple feel to it, we can even give it a little bit of a soft purple border instead. There we go. So that looks good. And last one, gonna build this box, make a nice shadow. We're gonna give it more of a like a 20-point radius here. And to keep up with the color up here, we're gonna give it a little more of a purple background. And then the entire section, we want to make sure that the entire section is built that way as well. And just like that, we cleaned up that section to make it a lot easier to understand. A lot easier. Okay, so I'm gonna do something else to really emphasize drawing a person's attention to this section. Okay, the way that I'm doing that is I'm gonna do a strong contrast on the middle one. To give us a chance to notice there's something different here. Okay, and I don't want the spacing to be centered. I want the spacing for the entire to start at the top, and no matter how long it gets, it's always going to line up the top correctly. So the way that you do that is you say left, but left really means the top. Okay. And for this one, because it's this color, I'm going to keep this color right here. And let's look. Okay, so it has a shadow. It's just not very big. We want to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, like that. It has some text shadow, but needs to be bigger. And because this is a shadow, It needs to be dark so that you can see it a little bit cleaner. All right. So now we can read it a little bit easier. And we're good there. Again, that needs to be about 60 off at the top and off the bottom. So to me, 60 is pretty good. If you're just wondering like what a good default is, 60 is a good default. Okay. So I think we've done that pretty good. Find out if you're a good fit. I think we can even go in and clean up these call to actions. Because this is just a landing page. Like a landing page shouldn't push people away. It's just a page that they're going to learn there for SEO. Now, if you're building a lead magnet page, you want to push people away from a lead magnet, but there's no need to push people away from a landing page. You want it to be warm. You want it to be inviting. You just want to explain like what value you can get them. Like you're really just focusing on like what value you can get them. Take our free 100 million challenge. Give us 1 hour. Right. So, and then that goes to a pop-up. And then I think the pop-up is a calendar. That's the pop-up. And then that's a calendar. Yeah. Okay. So that's fine. And then I think I want to do the same thing that we did last time. Okay. So I really want to build some primary colors. Like that, kind of like how Google does it, where you can build some primary colors, and it's just easy to see. So maybe I do one of these, and maybe I do this one, and maybe I do this one like that. Okay. So then the next thing I got to do is get the right color for the words. Let's go here and let's change the color. Why isn't it working? Huh. Interesting. Doing this should change the color. Yeah, that worked. Hmm. That's funny. I can't explain that. Unless I'm missing something. What am I missing? Because as soon as I do this, it's supposed to change the color. Well, if I can't figure it out, I'll just do it again. That works. And then the only thing I got to do is size it. And make sure that I'm centered. So I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to copy that over and do smart AI appointments. And so the reason I did it that way is because I wanted to keep the spacing that I just built for it. And if I copy that again, come over here. So 50K per month. So let's look. Yep, I didn't think that had a border. That's got to be 20. And let's give this a little bit of room to breathe. Same thing here. It does have the right border, but I want to give it a little bit of room to breathe. It's a good border. And give it some room to breathe. Okay, so which sounds better, smart AI appointments or or 120 a month appointments? Sales. So to me, now what we're focused on is some tangible goals that they're really interested in. So I would be more interested in knowing what I'm, what the goal for the program is supposed to do. Yeah. Organic leads, paid ads, referrals, and reviews. Smart appointments a month. Leads, book, appointments, AI, confirms, reminders are sent, views are collected, AI automated 100%. So trying to turn this information into bite size usable so they don't have to read very quick. But it kind of really explains exactly what it's supposed to do. And then we're just going to have to go through and clean this up. Every single step is going to have to get cleaned up. So, hey, I can see you. I hope that helps everybody. Enjoy making a website.